Good evening, good evening, good evening. I said this show this Friday would be special. It is extra special this week because not only are we going to be joined by Mobi halfway into the show around 9:30 UK time. Obviously, I'm joined with Mr. Dale, aka Gene, Chippendale, both of us. But finally, he comes back, makes his return. He's been focusing on his education in the last few months, and hopefully he passes his exams, his dissertations. I don't know what they call it in America, but finally, one half, the better half of across the pond, Evan Soccer God. Welcome back. How are you, Evan?
Good. Palatable part of across the pond, the handsome half of across the pond, the likable half of across the pond, the smart half of across the pond. These are just some of the words that get thrown around.
There's too many. There's too many. You could take an hour of how much positive feedback you get on when we did across the pond, and it will be back next week. We are scheduled to do a show just about schedule and timing, and where Evan will be giving me a footballing lesson on statistical data and graphics and all that. That will be on show next week. Yeah, carry on, Evan.
No, it's as I was saying off stream, just in relation to that, to get an education, you have to want an education. You have to want to know. You have to be thirsty for knowledge. And I think Avi asking for things to be explained to him instead of just getting mad when they don't make sense to him, I think that's a real positive step forward for him as he seeks to understand the game as the rest of us do. So, round of applause, Abby. You've come a long way, and I'm really proud of you.
I've become a better man for it. Gene, welcome back. Last Friday was a great debut show from us. Don't know how long it's gonna last because you've just made it on time today because you flew in from where'd you fly in from? Istanbul today?
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's work, but what can I do?
That's it. Yeah.
What can I do, man?
Was it a nice trip, Gene?
It was a good. Only to be fair, it was a busy couple of days. I left Tuesday morning. We didn't get there till late Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday were busy, and then early morning, sort of 11 o'clock flight back from there. So I got here around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So not too bad. It was good though. Can't complain.
Brilliant. And we've got our regular co-founder Asim. What a panel tonight. Yeah, what a panel. Thank God you're not on it. But yeah, everything's been brilliant on my end. Just busy. And yeah, this is the first of potentially 3 shows. I think we've got a phone in tomorrow, and then obviously the post-match on Sunday. But look, guys, let's get into it. Evan, a lot of drama yesterday from the AFCON. Mohamed Salah, a lot of fancy words being used on the Twitter sphere or X sphere. It does seem to be a hammy. Not sure of the severity of it, but reports coming in today seems as though it's like a low grade. I don't think it's a tear, but it's just like a sort of low grade sort of issue. Probably within the 10 days, or maybe even, you never know. These I've seen it before in big tournaments where they've rushed a player to play the third game, and we know that Egypt have to beat Cape Verde to qualify. So I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. I'm sure Liverpool medical staff will be on hand and wanting updates from the Egyptian medical team. But a lot of frenzy, Evan, going around Twitter, and all this panic mode. De Bruyne is back. Salah's injured now. Our season's going to fall apart. I find it quite embarrassing. Because we do have this season the riches of a great forward line: Cody Gakpo, Nunes, Luis Diaz, Diego Jota. Your thoughts on the injury? And surely, we'll be okay, right, without Salah for a couple of weeks, month even.
Yeah, if it comes to that, I think we will be okay. We were speaking on the phone last night, and I said we've come a long way from who our 4th choice attacker used to be. We all remember not too long ago who and what those players were. All due respect to them and their contribution.
Well, we'll talk about one of them, Dominic Solanke.
Yeah, absolutely. We now have midfielders who can step into the front 3. We have players who are probably too good to be on the bench that can step into the front 3 as natural attackers. So it's far from the end of the world. It is just it's more of a mental blow to see our players go down in this period. Trent went down. Now Salah potentially has an issue. and to see City getting their two most important attacking threats back, it's more of a mental blow at this point than anything else. No football has been played, really. We haven't seen the severity of Salah's scan results, if he has one, when they will be disclosed. So it's people existing in a state of unknown, which I admit is uncomfortable, because we would like to have all the info now, so we know exactly when Salah will be back. We'll know exactly when Trent will be back. We know when and what our full strength will look like by this date. But unfortunately, we have to exhibit in this age of instant gratification. We have to exhibit some patience and wait to see how it plays out. But this idea that the league was won and lost based upon something that happened at an international tournament is a bit of people getting ahead of themselves.
Yeah, and Gene, what do you make of it? Like, okay, he's injured, and like we've had 6 years of Salah being sort of injury, like, you know, he's stayed injury free. I mean, I know we can go back to the Champions League game final, but that was a one-off game, you know, where he got injured, but he was back for the start of the next season. We've been very lucky with Salah. You know, Mane was out here and there. You know, Bobby had his issues last sort of 18 months towards his LFC career. We've been lucky with Salah, but I think we've got so much firepower behind him. And 3 of the 4 out of the players that I'm going to mention, Gakpo, Diaz, Nunes, Jota, 3 out of the 4 have yet to really go to that next level where they're scoring consistently and they're, you know, hitting the numbers that they should be.
Yeah, I mean, look, Salah, you know, missing any game is a massive blow. And I think, you know, Evan sort of hit the nail on the head where he mentioned, you know, in any other time, you know, we'd be okay, because to be truthful, Avi, if you look at the past, we had the likes of Mane and Firmino who were scoring sort of goals, and we had every other player back. And it is sort of panic mode, because if you look at our defense, you know, there's a few out. Robbo's out, Trent's out, obviously Dom's out right now. You know, few of the midfielders are out, and as you mentioned, the strikers are not firing. Well, when I say not firing, I mean to their, let's say, the optimum sort of levels. So there is that sort of fear amongst Liverpool fans, and I get it. You know, that, you know, obviously you want Salah to start every game, and every other player is fit and firing. You know, you probably don't miss him as much. But I think, you know, we are going into the unknown. If he's out for too long, I don't think he is. He looked like, you know, there was a video out where he was walking after the game. There's a couple videos come out that, you know, in terms of, you know, he was geeing up his team from the sidelines as well. So, you know, he seems like it's a minor one, and hopefully it is. I don't think he'll be a bigger. And the only thing that I've got an issue with, and as you mentioned, is I just don't want him to be rushed. And I don't want, and you mentioned, if Egypt have got to win that final game, and it looks like they are going to have to win it. So, you know, you never know, but I just hope that he's okay, and, you know, hopefully he'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Do we all want Egypt to win that last game or lose that last game?
I'm being straight up. I don't want him to. I want him back ASAP.
Evan?
Not Egypt, preferably.
No, I want him back ASAP. Respect to Salah. I hope for himself he does it. But I'm a Liverpool fan. I have to speak. I have to be a politician for my club. You know?
Do you think that's the trophy that will always linger around him? Because he's been in 2 finals. He's lost 2 finals as well in the AFCON. Do you think if you know, when his career's setting down, if he doesn't get another chance to compete in the AFCON, do you think that will linger in his mind a lot at Gene? Like, he's done everything he can possibly for Egypt. You know, he's scored that winning penalty. He didn't need to propel them into, like, to get them into the qualify for the World Cup in 2018 in Russia. It didn't go well for him because of the injury of the shoulder, and he was playing even then. You know, he was quite kind of cursed throughout that shoulder injury inflicted by Sergio Ramos. Doesn't have a great World Cup then. He's always got this sort of like thing behind him, though, isn't he, Gene? With Egypt, like, just when you think, you know, they're ready, or, you know, and they've got a very good team. They have assembled a very good team from the last AFCON final. But you're disagreeing with me, saying that no, Avi.
I've put it this way, Avi. The few games that I've seen, they've not really impressed me. And I know it was a decent 20 minutes yesterday that we saw when he come off. That, you know, it looked, you know, there was goals flying in, but that first half was abysmal. From what I saw, I didn't enjoy it at all. But, you know, in terms of Egypt, look, I'm not an expert in African football or AFCON or who's great and who's not. But from what I've seen, I think that there's quite a few sides that are better than them. And the thing is with Salah, he is carrying a whole nation on his shoulders. And he's up against, you know, Egypt. You know, if you look at Egypt's past, you know, they've won the trophy a few times and players have won it. So there's that burden on his shoulders as well that he has to sort of produce for his country. But he's playing for the side that are not the best right now. And it's like Man City or, let's say, Haaland. What can Haaland do for his country right now? With all due respect, he's playing for a nation that ain't the best. And there's always going to be that pressure. So this notion that was going around on social media that he's let his country down and stuff like that, that's just a load of crap, if you ask me. He's took his country to a World Cup, which was unprecedented. They haven't been in the World Cup for God knows how many years. And he's done his best. What else can he do? He got him to the final last time. Yes, they lost on penalties. But what else can a man sort of do? And yeah, I think Habib's mentioned, isn't there another AFCON next year?
There is.
Exactly. They're bloody coming every 2 years. I think they missed the one in COVID. So they're making up for it now.
But that'll be the third in 4 years.
Yeah, because they're making up for it from COVID times.
Evan, any interest in the AFCON? Any players that before we move on to the game on Sunday, any interest in the AFCON? Any players that have impressed you?
It's nice to see. It's nice to see Kudus step in and make an immediate impact. He's definitely seems to be in a vein of form where it's, doesn't matter which team he's playing for, which tactical setup he's in, he's just performing. He's just being a difference maker, and that's star quality. Don't ask me about what I think about the quality of football at international tournaments, because I won't have anything nice to say. But I still do think it's indicative of a guy who is, even though he's only just recently gotten his big move to West Ham, he's kicking into a gear that can see his career propel even further. So that's a player that I've been watching with interest even prior to AFCON, and I'm glad to see that he's performing there. But typically, I just don't have any interest in AFCON. And if I miss out on this AFCON, well, there's another one in 12 months. So I won't have to wait too long.
And Evans,
anyone impressed you, bar Kudus? Because I think Kudus has impressed everyone.
You know what? I haven't seen much of it. Bebe scored a great goal today. Bebe of Man United. He scored a great goal today. I think the goalkeeping has been shocking. I mean, Onana today. Mane scores the third. It's been shocking. To be honest, Gene, the timings are just off for us. Yes, so no interest really. But I know Evan hates international football. He doesn't even support the US national team. And he's a native American. So what does that tell you? And I support them over England. I've only been there for 5 years. So moving on, I do want to just touch up on this Kevin De Bruyne stuff. Evan comes back, has a great cameo, 20 minutes, assists, scores a beautiful goal. But we've got so many embarrassing Liverpool fans. I want to call them embarrassing because that's what they are. Besharmi people, right? Besharmi means embarrassing, Evan, in my language. On Twitter, that says the league's done. That's it. He's back. 18 games to go. These were City, turn it on. League's done. What's your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on this hysteria that, okay, he's back, so what?
It's natural to be afraid. We're talking about one of the greatest players of his generation. This is a guy who I think on his day is Gerrard's equal. We are talking about one of the greatest midfielders to ever play the game. Let's be honest. So we're showing him respect by being afraid that he's coming back.
Evan, is that the pedestal you put him on now? Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard, De Bruyne.
He's better than two of the guys you just mentioned. So yeah, absolutely. I think he's a much better player than. Sorry, I shouldn't say much better. I think he's clearly a better player than Scholes and Lampard. I think him and Gerrard have a lot of similarities. So I'm just trying to put into context the caliber of player we're talking about. Like I said, the title has not been won or lost just because Salah does his hamstring and De Bruyne comes back. It's not how it works. Football's never that straightforward. Rarely is that straightforward. But we show him respect by saying, okay, well, he's back now, and City's chances of winning a title have just gone in one direction. They haven't gone in the other direction. So let's just not dance around it. But it's worth noting that in a few weeks' time, Liverpool will have an entire midfield 3 and 2 Hall of Fame fullbacks returning to their ranks. So, I mean, it's just so funny. Like, the people don't really see further than 15 minutes in front of them on the internet. It's just kind of how it works. But again, in a few weeks, we will have two Premier League all-timers return to our starting 11, as well as an entire midfield 3 in terms of rotational options. So our reinforcements are not too far away. I'm not thinking about troublesome fixtures down the stretch in March and April. I'm just thinking about how do we get through Bournemouth? How do we get through Chelsea not being full strength? So I'm trying to add some, context in the space of a month, looking a month forward as opposed to just looking a few days forward.
Do you know, I've been the same. Yes, it was a great cameo from De Bruyne. I appreciate Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, arguably one of the best midfielders ever to grace the Premier League. But for me, as a Liverpool fan, it's one game at a time. Starting off on Sunday, and the cup game with Norwich, and then Chelsea, Arsenal, Fulham in between that as well, in the semis. How do you see it? And does De Bruyne, it gives them a lift? Of course it does. How much of a lift does that give City? And is there a possibility that he breaks down again, which is typical of Kevin De Bruyne? He will have 8-9 weeks now where he will get fit. They'll probably win 7 out of the 8 or the next 8 or 9 out of the next 10. But there is that risk, a big risk, highly good chance that he breaks down again.
Yeah, but look, in terms of what he's going to bring Man City, I think Evans mentioned it, Harvey. You're talking about one of the best players that have graced the Premier League, and he's that good of a player that even and he showed it when he came on, and not a fully fit comes in, completely changes the game against Newcastle, a game that they were on the verge of losing. So that's what these great players can do, and it's a huge, massive boost for them. But City, look, as a whole, Avi, we always knew they were going to be thereabouts. In terms of Liverpool, we will have our players back. We just got to get through this period. Every team goes through a period where they got to, dig their heels in and get through it. And if we can get through, we've got a couple of cup finals coming up, and I'm not even mentioning the cup finals for me are the league games. Bournemouth.
Well, every game here on out is a cup final now. We can't slip up that 2-point lead. That can easily be chopped up straight away. Like on Sunday, we draw that game and City win that game in hand. They go top with goal difference, and with their goal difference, they pull away.
Yeah, but the thing is, when I mean every game in terms of Bournemouth without these players that I ever mentioned. There's so many of them that are coming back after the Chelsea game. The next two are huge, and we have to take every game as it comes, because that's where it is the business end. And I know it's not April, but Liverpool City in January, and there's a 1 point or 2 difference. This is business end for us and them. So we just got to get through this difficult period, get the points on the board, and when the players come back, I can see who's going on a run. We've only been beaten once this season. That was against Spurs, and we know exactly how we lost that game. But all in all, look, it's set. The title race is sort of set. Arsenal are 5 behind, whatever points behind. I think they are anyway. I think it's going to be a little bit Liverpool or City, and both teams will go full throttle. And I think again, it'll be margins come the end of the season.
Evan, is this the general consensus? Like Arib says, a win over City at Anfield wins us the league. And the first thing I'll come back to is, I do feel the draws this season have killed us. The Luton game, that Darwin Núñez chance at 0-0, he scores that. It's a different game. We win that at the Kenilworth Road. The draw against Brighton when we're 2-1 up, sloppy goal to give away. The free kick was sloppy, and then they score from that. 2-2. Gravenberch hits the post at 2-1. Could have been 3-1. The Spurs game, no comment. A game that we definitely shouldn't have lost. A game that we should have won. 3 games there that we've just didn't get it over the line. But is the general consensus, Evan, that game at City versus City at Anfield this time around, because previous seasons have been at the Etihad, is that the game that will go that will swing either way for both clubs?
Yes. It is the most important game for the rest of our season. We're not in the Champions League. I respect the Europa League, but none of those games, even the final, mean anything compared to this game at Anfield. And I will say it is nice to have our second game of the season against City be at Anfield, because in previous title run-ins, we've had to go to the Etihad in the latter half of the season, and we did not pick up the points. Obviously, Anfield specifically, it's home advantage, but it's a different type of home advantage. I was recently at the Arsenal game that we drew, and Klopp asked for Anfield, and he got Anfield that night against Arsenal. We didn't get the 3 points, but it was an electric sort of atmosphere. And
was it the best atmosphere that you've been? Because I know you went to the
by head
2019
and,
December for Firmino hat-trick. See, my memory.
yeah,
I knew
head and
that game.
shoulders, head
Yeah.
and shoulders. And I was sitting up in Annie Road, and locals will tell me that's usually a very quiet, casual part of the ground. Not a chance. Everybody was it was a hardcore sort of atmosphere. So I think if Klopp asks for it, and I'm sure he will ask for it in some way, shape, or form against City, he will get the raucous Anfield atmosphere that will be required to get the 3 points. Things can change, though. Things can change. The stars could align that whatever happens in that game could be of little consequence. Because as we've already established, KDB could go down again. Haaland could go down again. Ederson could go down. That's quite a jump from.
Is
one
there any
to two.
update on Edison?
I haven't seen an update on his health. Obviously, I, like everybody else, has been focused on the star quality further up the pitch, but things can change. It could come down to that game. I think we have mental scarring from 2 final day showdowns against City in the recent past, and we're still recovering from those. Whether we ever fully do, I don't know, but it's I think you said it best. You said I don't want another final day showdown. We've had enough final day showdowns against City for a lifetime.
I don't
Yeah.
mind it. I don't mind it. But if this, no, Gina, I don't mind it this time round. Where the
Yeah, of course, I'd love it.
the result against Wolves at home. I don't mind that, Evan. If we're a point behind or we're level on points with their goal difference, as we know that they have like a +7 on us towards the end of the season, then no, I don't want that, Evan, because I don't want to go through what we went through with Villa.
As long as we're ahead going into the final game of the season by a point, I'll take it right now. Come on, man, you have to take it. Of course, I'd love that. I'll be honest with you, Avi.
We all take it. We all take it. I'm just saying.
Knowing our luck,
we
got a point lead. We got a point lead over City last game of the season. We'll probably go 2 down against Wolves at Anfield, and then we score 3 in the last sort of 10-15 minutes. That's how the script is written, and Darwin gets the winner. There you go. Although I've already said Darwin will hit the winner against City. But moving on, big game on Sunday, Evan. Bournemouth under I hate saying his name, Androni Areola.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad attempt. Again, these Spanish managers play football off the deck. They love that sort of tiki-taka style that they try to adopt from like Pep style. And in Spain, they always, he makes all the defenders play football, close touch. He's got the Bournemouth team playing well now after the first sort of couple of months. The team wasn't really liking the tactical switches. Gary O'Neill had done a great job last season, but they're singing from the same hymn sheet right now. He's implemented a style. It's working for them. They got a great result at Old Trafford, although most teams get a great result at Old Trafford this season. Some good players. Last season we lost it. That midfield last season, Harvey Elliott, I think it was Bajicic and Fabinho. It was left well short. We were overpowered with the likes of Lewis Cook, Philip Billing, who got the winner. How do you see this game going on Sunday? I hate stadiums like Dean Court, 11,000 crammed in, very compact. Kenilworth Road is the same. I don't like these kind of stadiums, Evan. What's your thoughts? And just to give me your thoughts and any players that stick out for you from the Bournemouth team.
I like those stadiums just because I like the camera angle. It reminds me of Highbury back in the day, the super low camera angle. It's very nostalgic. It was always, when I would watch Match of the Day growing up, it was always unmistakably Highbury because of the camera angle, and you get that same vibe at the Vitality. Bournemouth largely improved this season. Of course, Bournemouth away, another recent mental scar. Obviously, last season, our trip to Bournemouth away after hammering United, one of many false dawns last season. I think it's safe to say. Bournemouth are not a great defensive team. They have the 5th worst record in the league. They currently sit 9 points clear of safety in 12th, I believe. Where they are getting their points from largely is because they have the joint second highest goal scorer in the league, and that's Dominic Solanke. He has 12 goals. Mohamed Salah and Haaland both have 14. What they've been able to get out of him as he sort of becomes a mature player. He's 26 now, Dom Solanke. Where has the time gone? But I think it became one of those things where we weren't really sure if Dom Solanke was ever going to be like an effective Premier League player. Was he forever going to be one of those yo-yoing strikers like Dwight Gale, goes down into the Championship, looks like Michael Owen, comes up, and then he's little more than a rotational player for one of the lesser teams. Dom Solanke this season is establishing himself as a reliable goal scorer. I mean, 12 goals at this point in the season. He's
13 in 20, Evan.
Yeah, it's an incredible record for Dom Solanke, and it's the type of striker who keeps you in the league and can really inflate your positional ranking. What's interesting about that is, and I think this speaks really well to how Bournemouth are just as a cohesive unit under Iraola, is they only have one player in the top 30 in the league for expected assists, and that's Marcus Tavernier from the winger / fullback hybrid guy. Only 4 assists from him, only 4.05 expected assists on the season. That is their only player in the top 30. So they're creating chances for Dom Solanke in a variety of ways through a variety of outlets. He's not relying on any one player to feed him in. He just sort of through his own effectiveness and his role in the system is getting goals, and that makes him a potent threat. That being said, we can get at this team because we are one of the premier attacking teams in the world, and this is where they are weak in relation to their sort of positional ranking. So I do expect us to win. I do expect it to be comfortable. Respectfully, we are a much different team than the team that turned up to the Vitality last year. And some of our players will have gotten some much needed rest. We spoke on the phone talking about Szoboszlai and the legs that have started to show some fatigue in the last month or so. So I think these sort of extended breaks, this little mini winter break that we now have, I think it will help quite a few players, not only the ones that are injured that need to come back, but I think it'll help for us to look fresh, or at least some individuals to look more fresh than they have been.
And Gene, we saw in the Fulham game, we started off a bit slow, and then second half we turn it on, Darwin comes on. There was a bit of I could sense a bit of lethargicness in that team. The energy levels weren't there until Darwin really came on, and the rapturous crowd started roaring as well at Anfield. Got the result there. The mini break has come at the right time because the Szoboszlai has been out. Trent gets injured. It just gives them a little bit of recuperation time. They recover. Robertson, Tsimikas boosts. Thiago Bajicic, we'll talk about that going on. But Bournemouth, we played him in the Carling Cup. Is it Carling Cup? No, Carabao Cup, sorry. Where Darwin gets the winner, comes off the bench and scores a cracker of a goal under sort of treacherous conditions, raining that night as well. As long as the surface is, playable, because we know what groundsmen like to do at these lower grounds, make it tough for top clubs. We should go there, and like you said, cup final, we should go there and get the job done, isn't it? And it's just about getting the job done. I don't care much about the performance, Gene. Where do you stand? Is it just about getting the 3 points and making sure you drive home safely?
100%. I think that's the most important thing going into this game. You just want to get 3 points, Avi. And you look at Bournemouth's form, and you guys touched on it. They're in rich reign of form now. I think they've lost one in the last 9, and one in the last. I think they've got 19 points in the last 8 or 9 games. That's one more than us. I think we've got 2 draws and they lost 1. So it just goes to show what type of job Adiola's actually done. He's got the team playing a certain style of football that you've mentioned. Then they've got players that can hurt us. Cliver's in decent form. I know that Semenyo's not playing tomorrow. He's obviously at the AFCON.
He gave us problems last season.
He did. Even this season, we beat him 3-2 at Anfield. I know we had that terrible sending off to Alistair.
They've got that fullback as well, Utara, who does a good job for them as well. Yeah,
he had a good game. Kirk is that left back. I'm not sure if he's going to be fit to start. But all in all, it's going to be a difficult game, and you got to give a lot of credit to Areola. He's what he's done with Dom Solanke from where we've seen him over the last couple of years, and Evan spoke about it perfectly. He's become the focal point of this team. And and even Jurgen Klopp mentioned how good Solanke was as a lad and as a player. He needed to kick on, and finally he's kicked on. And he mentioned that it was just unfortunate that at that time Liverpool arguably had the best front three in world football. So hats off to him. He's gone there, a move that he had to sort of make, and he's kicked on. But it'll be a difficult game. I know they've got a few players out, and they can be get out because I think who's that left-footed centre back that they've got? Avi, that's pretty good. That we were like, is it not Adam?
Lloyd Kelly.
Lloyd Kelly.
Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah,
the Argentinian's injured, though, isn't he? Senesi. He's a good player as well.
Injured, yeah. So they have
Lloyd. But I think Lloyd Kelly's a doubt as well.
Yeah, he's a doubt, but I think he'll start. So they've got quite a few players out for this game, and obviously a couple have gone to the AFCON. So they're depleted as well, and obviously we're not depleted, but we've got a few, let's say, a few big names out. So it'll be a good and interesting game. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like going to stadiums like Bournemouth that you've mentioned. They beat us last year. It's just
everything's horrible about these grounds. The food's fucking horrible. The journey up there is horrible. The fans are horrible.
Yeah, and it's 4:30 kickoff on a Sunday. They'll be up for it. But look, we've got more than enough quality to hurt them, and we just gotta, like I mentioned earlier, and we just want, and you mentioned, we just want the 3 points. I just want to come home, hopefully without any injuries, get the 3 points, and we move on to Chelsea.
Yeah, same, and we'll come on to who our forward line is and what we predict the score is. I've got Mobi in the studio. Before I just bring him into the chat, bring him onto the show. We've got some breaking news. Salah injury update from Sleepy Forest. I know Asim wrote something as well, but this seems a bit more informative. Strain in the hamstring muscle, causing him to miss the next 2 matches in the Africa Cup of Nations against Cape Verde and in the round of 16 in the case of qualification. So. Yeah, if it's a strain in the muscle, what we're thinking, 2-3 weeks. Evan, you're a bit of a doctor back in your day. Didn't you study medicine or something?
Nah, I'm furthest thing from that, but I like the verbiage. Strain sounds a lot better than tear. Yeah. So that's
all this posterior muscle, all these fancy words that coming out yesterday. Yeah. I mean, someone mentioned cruciate yesterday, for fuck's sake. I said, which bastard was mentioning cruciate? But guys, I do want to welcome in Mobi. Mobi, welcome. How are you?
Hey boys, good afternoon. Good evening to some of you. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good. Just got the news of Mohamed Salah hamstring strain. You ever had a hamstring strain, Mobi?
Plenty of times, in my days in the academy at Laxa, I got a few of those back in the day, but no, I mean, look, it's good news. It's not as bad as maybe a lot of us feared, and a lot of people spread panic for no reason. But look, the way I see it, we don't have him till February 11th because of AFCON. So whatever happens from now until then, it's part of the game. And if he's injured, he'll be fine by the time that day rolls around. So in the meantime, we continue doing what we do.
If he's out if he's out now, do they release him, or he's gonna have to stay with them, isn't it? Just in case they do qualify. But if they don't beat Cape Verde, then he comes back home. But strain means grade 1, tear is grade 2 and 3. So yeah, Christian de Vivek Nielsen, I think he's Danish. He says that it's good news as well as it can be expected. Just a quick update as well. I'm hearing what a goal by Fabio Carvalho and assist by Tyler Morton. So vice versa from last week where Carvalho sets him up. He scored a goal. I think they 1-0 up. And that was a great move for him under Liam Rosinier. I think he's a very good up-and-coming English manager. But Mobi, we were just talking about Bournemouth. We'll just come quickly to you. Who's your front three that starts on Sunday? And just a quick score prediction, and then we'll go into the transfer chat.
Look, whatever combination in the top we can do, let's do. But I want Darwin there. I think he's gonna be. He's always a player you miss when you don't have him. Say what we like about him. He's just that guy that. One of the things that really was eye-opening was Klopp saying, look, what Darwin really does, a lot of people don't see, is that when he gets on the pitch, the defenders are always around him. And what happens is that it opens up space for everybody else to roam around a little bit more. So it's so key for us to be able to play like that. But look, Jota he's in great form. Diaz, I think he's slowly finding his feet again. I think there's a lot of options. The big question is who's going to be on the right side now that Salah is not there. So ideally, I would say, we could try Elliott there, but I don't think Elliott is good there. I think he's better in midfield, as I think most of us agree. But any combination with Jota, Darwin, Gakpo, I think we're good to go. So yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much, to be honest. So
Evan, your front three?
Oh, it's tough. I mean, we're blessed for options, even with our best winger not around. I'd be tempted to see Luis Diaz on the right wing. He had an interesting sort of cameo on the right wing. Right wing is the subject of the month, obviously. You could put Elliott there, though you might be tempted to put Elliott in midfield with Szoboszlai still recovering. I think I'm going to do Diaz on the right, Gakpo on the left, and Darwin through the middle, and then of course the Iceman off the bench if you need a winner. God, we're just so blessed for options. I mean, we've come such a long way. As I told you personally, Avi, I have no great obsession with finding our best front three. Just whichever front three can win us the game of football on the day.
Gina, I'll tell you how I'm going tomorrow. I'm going on Sunday. I'm going Diaz on the right,
Yep.
Nunes on the left, and I'm
Yep.
going with Jota in the middle.
That's my front three as well. I was gonna say the same.
Although if Gakpo comes from the left, Nunes on centrally, Diaz on the right, and then Jota, because he's still coming back, I don't mind him coming off the bench as well. But I think I'd be tempted to go with those three initially on Sunday, and hopefully that'll be more than enough to get the job done.
Where do you in terms of midfield, Avi? Who do you go?
I'll go with Jones, McAllister, Gravenberch.
Gravenberch on the right.
Yeah, again. And I think
Severe.
He needs a big game, but because of Billing, he's a big, he's a big character, that Billing. They got Alex Scott. I think Alex Scott is back as well. So I would go with those three. Harvey Elliott shouts. Look, I totally understand that as well. If Harvey Elliott gets the nod, so be it. I'll support him. But I would go with those two. I think just a little bit of height is key for this game on Sunday.
I'd go Elliott. I want to hear, obviously, I think Evan will go with Elliott, but I'd go with Elliott. I just don't think Gravenberch works on that right-hand side.
Yeah, I think if we're awarding performances based off of merit and just performance level, then there are a few people who deserve more opportunities in this team than Harvey Elliott. But again, even with options not around and us not being full strength, to even have these conversations is such a nice problem to have, because in previous seasons, if one player was missing from the front three or one player was missing from the midfield three, it did feel like the end of the world at times. So
that's fine. And look, it's always good to have options. Just unfortunate that we've still got injuries to Thiago, Badic, Endo. By the way, I've got a message of abuse saying, Avi, you're mentioning AFCON and Salah, but no mention of Endo, who scored a goal today for Japan, even though they lost to Iraq. So big up Hendo, who scored a 93rd minute consolation goal for Japan today. So great stuff. Mobi, you've been watching the AFCON and the Asian Cup. Any players that's caught your eye?
I've caught a few games. The timing is not the best in terms of time zone, but look, the Malayan team is a team that I'm really watching closely. They have a really wicked player in midfield, Dumbia. Man, that kid's gonna be worth a lot of money soon.
Where is he playing his trade right now, Mobi?
He's playing in a club in I believe France. He's on loan for a team called Brentois. I gotta recheck that. But recently in a game, he scored 4 goals in the first quarter, like the first half. So bit of a handful. 20-year-old midfielder. Just a terror. So really nice player. I watched Senegal today. It was a really interesting match. I'm sure some of you guys watched the Onana debacle. He's such an awful goalkeeper.
He's so slow. The story of his career so far. Especially at United. And you know what? To be fair, he was a very good goalkeeper at Inter. Very good goalkeeper at Inter. So God knows what's happened here with him. But look, sometimes they say patience is a virtue. So let's see if United are going to continue to persevere. Mobi, the fun part of the show, these where we just chuck questions at you. The people in the panel chuck questions at Mobi. I'll start first. Obviously, the one that's really made the headlines is obviously Jordan Henderson going to a very historic footballing institution, Ajax. Record-selling shirts, apparently, Ajax fans. So much so that Ajax, the football club, is actually producing bed sheets now with Henderson number 6. So or number 11, whatever number he's receiving. But what do you make of it? What do you make of his stint at Saudi? There's some rumors that he wasn't going to get selected for the Euros, and Southgate has given an ultimatum saying, "Listen, I need to see you regularly in Europe, where the competition's a little bit better than what you're, playing in right now." What do you make of that transfer? And is it pretty much like, listen, he was a great captain for us. Whatever his life decisions are, that's on him. There shouldn't be that much scrutiny as there is there on Twitter.
Look, I think everybody has really strong feelings about Jordan Henderson, but I think it's really not my place to judge people on their decisions. I don't think anybody has made good decisions all their life. If he took a chance for something that was good for his family, you know what? All the power to him. And if it didn't work out, but that's just how life is. Sometimes we make decisions and we learn from it and say that wasn't good enough for me, and you move. And I don't have any hard feelings for Jordan Henderson. I wish him the best. I hope he does well at Ajax. I think a young team that's, average median age is 23 and a half, I believe, at Ajax would do really well with Jordan Henderson. Certainly, I was speaking to a few Dutch, Ajax fans, and they're really excited about him. And I think for me, it was like an eye-opener. It's like, wow. I mean, I keep forgetting how much or how high so many fans in other leagues hold Jurgen Klopp's players because of the things that they've achieved. So I personally wish him the best. I don't believe in harboring hard feelings for someone like that. They did the best they did for us, and now he's not our player. So, it's not my place to judge him, but I really hope he does well, And I think he'll offer them a lot more than people think.
Evan, your thoughts on Henderson going to Ajax? There's some midfielders that could probably use his wisdom, like Kenneth Taylor. I think he's 20. Benjamin Tarovic, who's a young up-and-coming midfielder. Silvano Voss, who's another young defensive midfielder in Ajax trying to break through. He brings a wealth of experience in a struggling Ajax team this season, doesn't he?
Yeah, I actually have a coworker who's an Ajax fan from the Netherlands, and he seems to think it's exactly what the squad needs for those reasons that you've just named, sort of the intangibles of an older head. I don't think Daley Blind is still there, so it's one of those things that they've missed in his departure, I guess. And all the internet stuff on Jordan Henderson, that the internet would have you forgetting that this is a European champion, this is an English champion of one of the biggest clubs in world football. So and the record he breaks with the shirt sales is testament to that. We kind of get we kind of lose sight of those things on Twitter sometimes. So
we forget even the players that have played for that Ajax team.
Oh yeah,
over the years, we're talking about the creme de la creme of world football that have donned that Ajax shirt.
Yeah, specifically that number. I'm pretty sure Mobi tweeted out just some of the names that have worn that number. Oh gosh, you could build a generational midfield out of those names. I mean, the players that have come through the ranks at Ajax are incredible. And Ajax is such a feel-good club. You couldn't find a football fan on earth that has anything bad to say about them or their fans or their philosophies and their principles that they instill in this sort of laboratory conveyor belt of talent. So no one wants to see them struggle. I think most people, regardless of how they felt about Henderson's move to Saudi, I pretty sure they wanted a different sort of conclusion to the twilight of his career, whether it's something that he feels good about. And yeah, Ajax could absolutely use the intangibles that he brings, because it'll always be a young team, Ajax, and I think to get them out of the hole that they currently find themselves in, it's going to take a departure from Ajax, going out and getting the experienced veteran head as opposed to promoting from within.
Gene, you want to come in on the Henderson stuff? Is it just pretty much like, look, wish him well?
Yes,
He played for us for 11, 12 years, club captain, brought us the success that, the best success in my lifetime as captain, and whatever his life decisions are, that's on him.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm more with what the guys say. Avi, he's a great captain, gave us everything, won us everything. And now he made a decision, went to Saudi, didn't work out. He's going to a proper institution of football, a club that's like we call ourselves European royalty. That's what Ajax are. So fair play to him, and he's going to a club that probably needs an older head, like Kevin mentioned. And yeah, I've got nothing bad, and I never will have anything bad to say about Captain Fantastic, man. And we wish him all the best.
Mobi, Sleepy Forest comment here, just stating that David Lynch said we are looking at Diamonde and Michael Olise. Your thoughts on both players? I think we did mention Michael Olise, so we won't go heavy on Michael Olise, but Diamonde is attracting attention a lot, and he is a 20-year-old still learning his trade. Your thoughts on this possible player coming to Liverpool?
I think agents are just all over the place, drumming up interest in all kinds of center backs. I don't believe any of these players are really serious at the moment. I don't think any of these players have been honed down as the player of interest. I think come summer things will completely come into view of who we go. But I think it's fair to say we have quite a few players we're tracking right now. But as far as I know that Lenny Yoro is very, very of big interest. So I don't think, I don't think the decision is made really of where it is, unless a really good opportunity or something comes up, we move this window. But I think come summer, there'll be more players being looked at, and it's going to be a bit of a runway because the next signing is going to be a big one and in the long-term one. So I don't think they'll do anything with haste. So that's my personal take on this whole thing.
And Mobi, Gina, you want to ask something?
Well, so in terms of what Mobi mentioned, Avi, of course, we're the club that are going to be looking at centre back options. So of course, right now there's going to be every single centre back in world football being linked to us, and agents are going to play their part in this. And this is just part and parcel of how agents do their work and do their business. I just think it's agent talk right now, and I think we'll see more come, like Mobi mentioned, in the summer, because there will be some sort of revamp in the summer, especially with Matip leaving. And one will definitely come in. But question to Mobi, look, there was some links with that. I think Chelsea might be looking to sell Levi Colwill. So do we sort of revisit that if that's a possibility? Look, I can't see it happening personally myself, but what do you think? Do you think there's a possibility he will come? Because the money that I saw online right now is you're talking on the 50 million mark, and I found that a bit baffling.
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think the train has left the station. I know last summer we definitely did talk to them quite a bit and all that stuff. But like I know, one of the reasons that he said that he stayed was after the conversation with Pochettino. So I almost feel like it'll be really weird if Pochettino said, I don't need you anymore, I don't want you anymore, and I don't see why else he would leave. I think he's got a big fat wage packet over there. I think this is all agent talk as well. I think and I think the link came from some random guy from transfer.com or something like that. So I think it's more bogus. Yeah, I think it's more bogus than anything. I just don't think how it's realistic. I think, I definitely think the train has left the station last summer. That was the window.
I just have a question. This is not Liverpool related specifically, more to just the transfer landscape. And as we've seen, Mobi, in recent weeks, financial, it's not called FFP anymore. I don't think I'm just going to call it FFP because I forget what the new name is. But FFP have slammed the hammer down on clubs like Everton, Nottingham Forest. There's going to be fines. There's going to be point deductions. They'll take it to court. Obviously, people this has led people to ask, okay, well, City's 115 charges. Have we made any progress on that? Why is this not being addressed? This, that, and the other. I just want to get your thoughts on the transfer landscape, because for me, just looking at it from my POV, the sanctions that have come down on the heads of Everton and and Forest, and there's talk about Newcastle and Chelsea as well. It's created almost a stagnation in the market almost. For me looking at it, it seems like there's really just like 6 clubs in the English Premier League that actually have money, that can actually be spent, and everybody else is kind of just treading water, and if you don't tread water correctly, you could get in trouble. What are your thoughts on this landscape, and how is it unique compared to transfer windows of the past?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think this whole, first of all, I think the PL is doing all this hammering down on FFP only because of one thing, is because the government has said there's an independent regulator coming, and you know what, PL doesn't want anybody else regulating them. So this is only happening because of this, and I'm really happy that there's a pressure for them to shape up, because I saw an interview with Richard Masters, their old CEO. Is he still the CEO of PL? I think he retired or something last year, right? But he said he would have done absolutely nothing to stop Erling Haaland from coming to Man City if he had the choice, and which basically says PL is happy to have the best players come in. Doesn't matter about FFP, because at the end of the day, the best players, the most expensive players coming into the PL means one thing and one thing alone: more eyeballs, more excitement, more selling of ads, more revenue. So they don't care about clubs breaking FFP, because for them, their goal is to make PL the most attractive league in the world and generate money. So, they're happy to do a blind eye. So I think with this regulator coming in, they have just decided now, oh shit, I better, sorry for swearing, but I think we better get our ducks in a row. And so now they're making examples of these clubs, and now people are putting pressure on them, saying, look, if you're going to make an example of me, you gotta, deal with the elephant in the room, and we all know what that is. So yeah, I think this ridiculous transfer prices given out and everything will settle down a lot for next summer. I think Chelsea's, I think they've learned quite a few lessons very expensively, that these big 8, 9, 10-year contracts are gonna eventually, be like a ball and chain. They'll tie them down for players that can never sell. Nobody wants to pay these wages for anybody, So yeah, I think that'll change next summer, and I think it'll be for the better. I think football needed a bit of a reset. Well, I don't want to call it a reset, but more of a rehash of these prices. And I think the Saudi league going the way it has also helped push that reset, because now players are not going to just jump, anytime they get an offer. They can look some of these examples of players coming back quickly. I still expect Saudi league to get players in. Make no mistake, money means differently for different players. So let's see what happens. But I think next summer will be a bit more of a, hopefully, if nothing changes, more of a realistic price window, if that makes sense.
And maybe even though clubs are being punished, like the Evertons, like the Nottingham Forests, I think Wolves have been reprimanded as well. It doesn't give anyone any solace or peace until we see those 115 charges come into fruition with City. And I think Richard Masters was asked a question, what's the update on that? And he couldn't give a straight answer of when these charges or when there's going to be a verdict. He just couldn't say. I think Gary Neville mentioned it on the overlap as well, with Roy Keane, Jamie Carragher, and Ian Wright. He said Richard Masters couldn't give a straight answer, which tells me that I think this is going to take quite a while. And I think when it does come, when there is a verdict on these supposedly these 115-16 charges, I don't think we're still going to get the result that we want.
Well, I posted the other day the charges broken down, and majority of the charges are just like them not cooperating. So my whole thing is, listen, if you guys are done nothing wrong, cooperate, show your stuff, and they can, because the whole reason why this whole, we found out about all these, doping is because of football leaks. They actually released all the emails from their own server. So you can't even lie about it, because it's your own emails, right? So if you look at the UEFA verdict, they lost and City won for one reason and one reason alone. They had 5 years to prosecute them, and the 5 year ran out. Even in the verdict paper, if you look at the notes, it's available online, they never denied that they did wrongdoing. So, Premier League doesn't have that rule in place. So now that's why they went after them. And I just feel until you deal with those charges, it's the Premier League is not going to, the clubs are not going to stop putting pressure on them, and people won't take it seriously. So I think they have a lot to lose without dealing with this thing.
Yeah. Another player, Mobi, that you posted about, I think a month ago, highly rated winger, I think Norwegian, Antonio Nusa. There's talk today from Norwegian outlets that
Mhm.
maybe, or I think he's at Club Brugge, I believe, right? I think
Club
Belgium
Brugge,
maybe
yeah,
outlets
yeah,
that
yeah.
there's talk of him going to Spurs, signing for Spurs, but then obviously he'll be there for the remainder of the season on loan.
Yeah.
Any talks there? Was there any interest from Liverpool there as well?
I mean, I won't lie to you and say I'm not gonna be jealous. It's a fantastic talent, probably one of the best wingers you can, talent wise. But I see what the Spurs are doing. They're looking to replace Son as he's getting into the twilight of his career. Really, really good move from them. I don't see us being interested in that side. I think for us, the interest is going to be more on the right wing side. I think that's what we're looking to do by understudy for Salah. And no surprise, Bakayoko is of interest. His agent has been, talked to last summer, and in many corners you'll see that a lot of people, there's some noise that we've asked him to almost like just stick around, don't go to Burnley, just see what happens next summer and all that stuff. So I would say keep an eye on the right side more than the left. But hey, hats off to Spurs. It's a brilliant signing for them if they can make it work.
And Evan, look, the inevitability is, look, we've got to replace Mohamed Salah sooner rather than later. Hopefully he stays. He's got a couple of years with us, but there's going to be a phase out. Time where he is going to be slightly phased out. He's going to have to get used to the bench a little bit. How hard is it replacing a player who is scoring between 25, 30 a season? And is that the sort of model? Is that the sort of blueprint that we need to go towards? Or do we go towards a different route where we just get a young winger in and the goals will have to be shared? I mean, the other 3, 4, whoever that may be at the club, I'm presuming it'll still be Nunes, Gakpo, Jota, Diaz. They've just got to increase their load. I want to talk about that specific position to you, Evan, because I want to get your thoughts on what do we look for now in that player, because you won't get a like for like replacement. Very hard to get a like for like replacement straight away.
No, you don't try to replace Mohamed Salah because you can't, right? It's not realistically possible. You try to get a budding young talent, a Bakayoko, a Nusa, a player of that mold, and you try to just create a good player from it and hope that the goal contributions are shared elsewhere. And a sign of a truly great team is that even though you phase out a star or you lose a star to injury, whatever it may be, you still maintain your output. I mean, City got 98 points without Kevin De Bruyne one season. That's a sign of a truly great team. And that's a sign of a system and a core of players that were ready to step up and fill that hole. So it's not like just some sort of power vacuum that the club doesn't know how to deal with. And I think if there's one thing we know about this Klopp team is that no individual is greater than the whole. And it's the team that creates chances for each other. It's the press that creates chances. Liverpool don't play with that roaming central 10, do they? They trust the press to create chances for them. That's the core ethos of the gegenpress system. So you don't try to rebuild Salah. You try you moneyball Salah is what I'm saying. You make up for him in the aggregate. You go and get Bakayoko. You go get another player as well, and you try to maintain the systemic like sort of efficiency and familiarity. I think I think teams are now smarter than that. I think that might have been the thinking 10, 15 years ago, and even before that, of we lose a player who cost this much and he was on this type of money and he was getting us this type of output, we now have to go spend exactly that much money to it's just sort of like a like for like in and out. I think in the age of data and like advanced analytics, that sort of thing doesn't really fly. And it used to be something that the smaller teams would do. You sell Gareth Bale, you try to then Tottenham buys 6 or 7 players and try to become a better team. Didn't quite work out for them in that way, but that was the thinking. I think that we're a little too smart to try to
And Evan,
Yeah.
you mentioned this way, and I agree with you because look, we sold Coutinho for 130 million at the time, who was probably our best player at the time, and we changed and adapted. We didn't actually go and spend 100 plus million on a that type of player in that type of mold. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show that we are able to adjust, we are able to play a different way, and Klopp's shown that. So in terms of replacing Salah, yes, we're gonna have to bring in a left-sided left-footed right winger in that sort of position because you need one. And the players like Bakayoko and them do fit that sort of profile. But again, Klopp, and I trust the Klopp and Liverpool in terms of finding the right player in the right position who's going to be able to, number one, enhance the other players, and then number two, the players that are around him, and we're going to have to step up like the likes of Mane, Salah, that time stepped up to a different level.
It's worth noting that when Coutinho goes, he's on pace for a player of the season sort of campaign. I think he leaves when the day he leaves to Barcelona, he has something like 12 assists and 11 goals in the league. Going into the January window. I mean, he's on course for a Mahrez at Leicester season or KDB sort of season. And lo and behold,
he was clear that season too. The January he was ahead of the rest.
He was absolutely the best player in the league. He was absolutely the best player in the league.
Although it was Salah's debut season as well, though, Evan.
It was Salah's debut season, but let's not forget when Coutinho left, he was the best player in the league, in my opinion. He's playing better than
Sarib's comment as well. He mentions look in terms of look at Spurs with Kane. It's not the end of the world when you lose arguably your best player. So he's another example.
Yeah, and they've brought Richarlison. He's had a tune. They've had a new manager as well, who's very attack-minded. Son Maddison. No, and I totally get that as well. Like, look, I believe Klopp and whoever's in charge when Salah does leave, that we will be in a very good place. I mean, there are players out there. It's just that output as well. But I think that output, we've been sort of spoiled as such. That Salah's producing those kind of numbers, because those kind of numbers are unheard of.
Yep.
To do it 6 years in a row now, those numbers, like, he's not had no fall off in terms of the numbers. If anything, this season's numbers are better than last season's numbers in terms of
how these things tend to work. Is that let's say Salah moves on, you bring in the Bakayoko, you get the contribution from a player like Bakayoko, and as a result, just sort of naturally, Darwin Nunez scores an extra 10 goals the following season. Cody Gakpo scores an extra 10 goals. Jota scores an extra 10 goals. These things, I mean, they have to go somewhere. You know what I mean? And we have that confidence to say that they will go somewhere because we have a great system. We are not a Mohamed Salah and hope sort of team. We are not. The system elevates Mohamed Salah to where he is. So I think we'll be in good hands regardless.
Mobi, a question from Arib. Avi asked about Mamadou Sonko, seeing him linked to us recently as well. Again, Mobi, I'll get your thoughts on him. You probably know more than any of us three on the panel regarding Mamadou Sonko.
Mamadou Sonko, yeah, it's. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's from Sweden actually, and he was saying that it is indeed true that we are trying really hard to sign him. He was actually at Liverpool in 2017 on a trial. So he spent time here with us already. His dad was very impressed, and he was actually almost shocked that he was invited over. A player that, from what I understand, we're really looking to sign. But his club, Hacken, is also looking to sign him for a longer deal so they can sell him down the road. So a bit of a tug of war there, but we'll find out soon enough if he's going to go anywhere.
Ben, one of the regulars, and obviously has his own channel as well. He's mentioned Jared Bowen, Urchin, maybe a couple of seasons ago, maybe. He'd certainly put some decent numbers, but at 26, 20, I think he's 27, 28, that ship has sailed, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I just don't think we're willing to pay the amount of money that West Ham are going to be wanting for him, because, we know that they get their money. I think, if a couple of years ago, 100%, I think, it makes sense. Especially he's been brilliant this season, and, he generally does well when he plays against us. I know he missed that penalty last year, but generally he's a decent game. So me personally, I don't think we're willing to go that high to replace him, and especially with somebody at the age of 26, he'll probably be 27 by the time we sign him. So I can't see who's going for Gerard Bowen. I know Klopp, and even Ben mentioned Klopp does love him because he mentioned him in his presser.
Mobi, a couple of Spanish reports saying that Ronald Araujo, very highly rated centre back, left back at Barcelona, is angling for a move. He's very discontent under Xavi. Any talk of that? I mean, I think he signed a new contract. I'm not sure what his contract terms are right now at Barca, but he's certainly a player that would be on our radar, right?
Yeah, again, this comes back to what I was saying earlier. I think a lot of people are, connecting us left, right, and center with center backs. But I think come summer we're gonna revisit all of these, and we're gonna see what makes the most sense. But he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. But I think it's gonna come down to the transfer fee, and if he wants to move. I mean, he's in Barcelona right now. Are they actually gonna even sell him? Like, is there a need to? I mean, Barcelona is selling their studio for a lot of money in the next few weeks, I believe, to generate more revenue. So, is it actually real talk, or is it more like just agent talk? So, yeah, I think take it with a bit of a grain of salt on this one.
Got it. And we've got a question from KD at Mobi. Is Kimmich on the market? Buying Dyer and looking at Trippier makes you wonder. I mean, I've always had this sort of, in the fantasy world, I'd love to see Joshua Kimmich and Trent Alexander-Arnold in the same team. I think they're two gifted midfielders. Attackers, midfielders, defenders, right backs, transitioning, inverting into the 6-8 role. Mobi, Joshua Kimmich, he's 28, 29, I believe.
Yeah.
And he'd be on high wages, wouldn't he?
That age profile, I mean, it's quite rare that we sign players that late. I mean, having said that, we signed Endo in the summer, but again, his cost was quite low and his wages were not that high. I don't know. The Kimmich thing has always been something we're always connected to every summer. I feel like there's something to do with Kimmich.
Is that a lazy link, Mobi, you think? Because it's German and, Klopp's German. Is that just a lazy link?
I mean, look, anytime we apply a player from Bayern, it's always a saga. It's always a transfer, like it's like a 3-month process. I think he has options. I can see, it's funny. I can see like a team like United paying over the top for him. Do you know what I mean? It's like a perfectly marriage made in heaven kind of thing. And I don't think that's where we'll head. I think we're looking to, make our team a little bit younger. And I think we have some older pieces like Endo to provide some leadership. So I don't think that's for us, to be honest. I would put it in the lazy link category if I were you.
Got it. Gene, is there anything from you? I've got a last question, but it's not transfer related. Go on, Gene.
No, in terms of obviously there's Todibo again, Mobi. And is there been since we spoke last week in terms of, do you think there'll be any movement in regards to him? Because he's a player that obviously we are sort of linked to, from Nice, and I know United are sniffing around as well with their ownership links. But do you think anything will happen? It's probably, I think, look, most of our transfer will probably be somewhat related. But he's a link that, I think he's had a decent season as well, when we were speaking about it last week.
Yeah, I think today I saw L'Equipe, the premier French outlet, that there's 2 players are going to leave Nice for guaranteed. One is Kepren Thuram again, and again Todibo. Todibo is definitely on his way out. I don't think having Ineos in between the 2 clubs, between United and Nice, is a barrier to signing him. I think at the end of the day, Nice will send him to whoever pays the most or where he also wants to go. Players are kings. They always decide where they want to head. And I think French outlets have always said he looks at the Liverpool project as being more attractive, which goes without, doesn't need an explanation. So yeah, Chin, I think he definitely, again, like I said, I think the summertime, unless something drastically happens in the next few days where an offer comes out or a club wants to sell a player for really cheap, I think come summer, we're going to look a deep dive and see who the best option there is and go for it.
There's a comment. Right now. There's a comment, and there's a comment in the chat, which is funny. Avi, you sold us a dream with that Thuram clock in the summer. That clock came back actually yesterday. Mobi tweeted me, and I put the clock at. It was a terrible summer.
What an era! The clock era.
Never forget.
Wow.
Clock era.
Clock era.
2.0. Mobi, just on Kepren Thuram. They've struggled this season, Nice. They're not where they should be. But another player alongside that we were linked with was Manu Kone. Very little has been said about him in the last 3-4 months. What's any update from there? Any sources telling you that he will be out of Mönchengladbach anytime soon?
To be honest, I haven't really paid attention to him or his club this season so far. I don't know. I think that will we go back for Kone? I think again somebody that was of interest last summer. I think a young six is probably of interest for us. Next summer. I don't think we're gonna spend big on like a big name central defensive midfielder. I think it'll be more of a younger player. Given I know we have budgeted and everything, but again, I think to manage his time and his games. But my personal opinion, I think we're gonna look for a younger player to come in and start like finding his feet, and then by the time he does, Endo will be closer to his next chapter. There's a player of interest from Uruguay you can keep an eye on. His name is Thiago Helguera. I think it's gonna be the next Ugarte. So
is that the name?
Is that the name? And yeah, Mobi that you promised us from
last week? Thiago Helguera.
Get that tweet out of me.
I will. I'm gonna make something up now. According to
Make sure you credit Mobi though, yeah. Don't be really fishing you off as your own news.
No, I won't.
No. No, I think there's a lot of good young sixes that we'll keep an eye out on. But I think personally that's the direction we're gonna head. I don't think we'll go for the usual names from last summer. I think some of the trains have left the station, and I don't see how we go back for them this next window. That's just my opinion.
Sleepy Forest, putting me back in my pen, putting me back in my yard. Lol, I mean, Nice is second behind PSG, waffling about struggling. I'm sorry. I think I'm getting them mixed up with Rennie's. No, I thought Nice were struggling as well. Genuinely, I thought they were struggling.
Kone, I think you got mixed up with Kone. That's what it is. I'm backing you up here, Avi, because he's
no. I think I dropped the ball. I dropped the ball there. There's another one saying, Khalid's, this is probably one of your cousins, Ajeen. Khalid Saeed, are you United fans? No, we are.
Mo is the goal, and I think he's trying to come back saying, we're trying to sell him. Khalid, we ain't trying to sell him. We want him to sign a new contract. He's definitely the goal. And look, end of the day, we've got to move on one day, and that's just the way it is. So we don't want you to go around saying that these guys are trying to sell Mo Salah because we're not. We want him to stay. I want him to get a sign. And I do believe he'll sign a contract, by the way.
And on the whole, it's been a very quiet window. What were we, 19 days in?
Very
quiet. I don't think there's any availability, Evan.
People
Ivan
are
Toney.
scared.
Yeah.
People are scared. Like I said, I think this is exposed really who is flush with cash and who was sort of just papering over the cracks in a semi-legal way, in order to just be somewhat competitive in this league. I mean, the gulf in wealth between a Man City and even an Everton, you know what I mean, in terms of who has the cash on hand. It's just wild. It is an availability thing. January has never been a window that's been flush with options. You know what I mean? It is a window for the desperate players, desperate to leave, clubs desperate to bring people in. But a lot of it, I would say, is probably down to the landscape we were talking about prior. If the clubs who kind of have money but also kind of don't really have money, if they're too scared to spend, then this has ramifications for the clubs, for the bigger clubs who want to spend in terms of offload. I mean, you can imagine that a few years ago there would have been a serious market for Conor Gallagher if he wanted out of Chelsea in January. But unless he's going to a club that have that cash on hand and ready to pay it, there isn't a Crystal Palace or an Everton that's going to come bail him out. Not if they don't actually have the money and the Premier League are swinging down the hammer of retribution on these clubs.
Yeah, and I think like Hamizi says as well, like I suppose AFCON and Asian Cup games being played at the same time plays a role of the window being quiet as well. And yeah, that's a valid comment. I think, there's probably some players out in, especially the AFCON, where, a few clubs will be looking at,
but 8 million compared to 800. I know Chelsea went on a mad one last January, but that is really quiet if it's only 28 million pounds spent.
Could be the fear, like Evan said, there could be the fear that, FFP, if you're not abiding by the rules, you're going to get...
That's good news for us, though.
it's good news for us if we spend. Look at our owners. It's only good if our owners are willing to take the wallet out. But I've said previously, I don't know how you three said, and I think we said it on last Friday, I don't see the need for us to go out and spend in January. Right now, I don't think there's anything that we need to bring in. A centre-back at most, but if the centre-back that you want in January, you also need that selling club willing to, part ways as well. I don't think we are. I think we'll wait until the summer to make the adjustments that we need. Mobi, quiet business at Liverpool during this transfer window?
I mean, I expected it. Look where we're on the table. I think, barring any crazy injuries, I think the focus would just be bringing in a couple of young players if we can. And I think, like I said, is there a PSV out there that needs to raise some money? Can we go for a player like Gatpo out of the blue? Because we just, if we exploit the situation, I don't think there's any need for us to do anything like that. And I don't expect much. Maybe a youngster or two if we can sign any of the players linked. But I think come summer we'll see some movements. And obviously we have Thiago and Matip leaving as it stands. So obviously the team will be flushed out. But let's see how it goes. I think the focus really right now is just to enjoy the games we have, see how we're doing, keep fighting the one game at a time, and let's just enjoy the ride. And if anything happens until summer, hey, it's bonus.
Evan, any need to dip into the market in January?
No, especially with so much of our depth returning in the next few weeks, it wouldn't really make sense. Obviously, the line we've always heard is that for the right player in the right situation, if they become available, we'll go for it. But I personally couldn't see the logic in doing anything big right now.
Brilliant. Gina, anything that you want to bring to the table? There is one last question. It's not transfer related, but I'll go to the panel. I'll go to all three of you. Gina, I'll start with you. Question for the panel. How many wins we need to win? Do we need to win the league? Gina, give me a points total that we need to win the league. And don't copy what I've said.
I go 86. 84.
Mobi?
Or 84.
84 points, you think wins it?
I think it's 84 wins it this year. 84 to 86.
Mobi?
I think it'll be around there too. I think there's a lot of competition. I think there's a lot of good, there's a couple of teams in the top fighting it out this year. And I think there'll be a couple of losses coming for everybody, or maybe a couple of draws. So yeah, I'd say in the 80s. Somewhere in the 80s.
Evan?
Hard to go with an exact number, but I'd be surprised at this point if 90 was the floor. I think it'll be below 90.
Wow. I've said 91 wins the league.
91.
91 guarantees you the league. I think
91 guarantees anybody the league, mate.
No, I think 91 point for me is the benchmark. I think City have got that 15 out of the next
how many years in the past 7 years has 91 points been good enough? I mean, it hasn't for
Liverpool
the majority of them.
When Liverpool and City have gone out, it hasn't. But I think
this season's as I don't know.
Do you know City have got it in them to win the next 15 out of 18.
We will see now this season.
But 84, 86, interesting.
Yeah, 86, I think wins you the league this season.
Brilliant.
Or maybe 86.
Some shouts 88. Arib saying 90 minimum. Sleepy for us. If we win every game, we get 99.
It's on 99.
91 walks the league. There you go. Jake, mate, my mate Jake out in Venezuela saying 91. 91 is the one. But guys, this has been a great second show. So far, so good. Gina's stuck with it. Second week in a row. Let's see how many more weeks he will show this kind of level of consistency. As much consistency as the Pakistan Cricket Board selecting a manager for the team to lead him. But Mobi, thanks for joining us as well. Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Thank you so much, guys. It was really fun. Thank you.
No, of course, and hopefully you'll be back next Friday. And then Evan, me and you back to the drawing board. Well, you're more going back to the drawing board because you'll be hosting the official comeback of the Across the Pond show, scheduled for next week. So we're going to look at dates and see what works for Evan. And then, yeah, that's it. Tomorrow we've got the phone-in show, Asim and Sarib. Hopefully it'll be as fruitful as it was last week. less of the banter. But yeah, and then Sunday we've got our post-match reaction show after the Bournemouth game, which will be going live around 9 to 10 p.m. But yeah, guys, please like and subscribe if you haven't. This has been Born and Red. This has been the Chip and what was it? Chit-Chat. This has been the Chit-Chat show, the official Chit-Chat show. But yeah, please like and subscribe on your way out, guys, and we shall see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.